Welcome to a special episode of Friday Flicks, where we take a look back and give our review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Of course, I'm your host, Larry, and without further ado, let's dive right into our review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. In the pantheon of obligatory legacy sequels, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is perhaps the least necessary. After the first Beetlejuice, there was little story or world building left to explore. But that's part of why Tim Burton's follow-up to his beloved 1988 horror comedy works. At no point does the 36-year-old later revival tout itself as a capital I important, even though it confers a sense of weight and grandeur on existing characters and events. While it features a whole lot less story than the original, which got by on its tone and imaginative production design despite being narratively insubstantial, each decision Burton makes here is simply geared towards cartoonish fun in the vein of its predecessor. It's fine at times, it's even charming, and it doesn't need to be much more than that. Decades after her initial brush with the strange and unusual, former antisocial goth Lydia Deetz now uses her sixth sense to host the popular paranormal TV series Ghost House, with the help of her overeager boyfriend manager Rory. She's become a minor celebrity, but the past still has a hold on her, and not just because she sports the same updo and spiky fringe as when she was a teen. Anytime Lydia spots a black and white striped outfit, she has momentary flashes of the undead, bio-exorcist, and sex pest Beetlejuice, who tried to forcefully marry her in the first film. However, Lydia's problems are much more wide-ranging than the previous movie-induced PTSD, afflicting her counterparts in other legacy sequels, like the last two Scream movies, or the Halloween trilogy. Her college-aged daughter, Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega, who rejects her mother's supernatural claims, is otherwise a mirror image of the moodier Lydia, circa 1988. The death of Astrid's father drives a further wedge between them. Lydia's stepmother continues to be a self-absorbed concept artist, only now on a much larger scale. And her own father, Charles, has recently died a comically horrific death, which feels like a tongue-in-cheek dig at actor Jeffrey Jones, who played Charles in the original before being later brought up on child porn charges. The actor is, of course, not brought back for the sequel, but his character's demise plays out at length via CGI-assisted stop-motion. On one hand, kicking Jones so overtly to the curb feels like a justified metatextual middle finger to an actor whose crimes also retroactively taint Burton's Ed Wood in Sleepy Hollow. On the other hand, it also draws attention to the fact that Burton hasn't stopped working with composer Danny Elfman, the subject of multiple sexual harassment and assault lawsuits, whose signature bouncy brass is as recognizable as his name in Beetlejuice's opening credits. Additionally, by virtue of this approach to Jones, no one really takes Charles's death seriously, though a few characters pretend to for personal gain, which also proves somewhat awkward. After all, his demise is what brings these scattered characters back together at the old Deetz house, the setting of the first movie. Burton has always either danced around death or punctured it with humor, but Beetlejuice Beetlejuice does this while also sincerely attempting to confront grief in the form of Astrid's lack of closure with her dad. Coupled with the movie's surprising in-world explanation for the absence of the Maitlands, it feels like the sequel is constantly on the verge of a more thoughtful and reflective approach to mortality, though it keeps zigzagging away from this. However, its tonal mismatches are worth forgiving once the movie's goofy supernatural antics begin. Beetlejuice, who hasn't stopped pining for Lydia, still caters to deceased folks wanting to rid themselves of live guests in their former homes. It has now expanded his operation with the help of dozens of lumbering assistants with shrunken heads and engorged plastic eyes, just one of many delightful practical effects that make Beetlejuice Beetlejuice an ideal gateway to the horror genre for younger viewers. It also happens that Beetlejuice's long dead and long dismembered ex-wife escapes her confines in the afterlife and staples her body parts back together in the hopes of enacting revenge on him with her demonic soul-sucking powers. These plot threads don't so much collide as they simply brush shoulders through coincidence. The X has frustratingly little screen time, but each one is silly enough to warrant a chuckle. Willem Dafoe, for instance, plays deceased B-movie actor Wolf Jackson, whose obsession with playing a TV cop has led him to form a post-mortem ghoul squad made up of dead blue-skinned police who might as well be asphyxiated super troopers. Wolf chases down rule breakers like Beetlejuice, or living people who force their way into the afterlife, as happens here, while coming up with cheesy action movie quips on the fly. Dafoe was clearly off in his own movie, one that's barely connected to the rest of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, which, for instance, includes a romantic subplot for Astrid plucked from a young adult novel. But like most of the cast, the Spider-Man actor is having infectious fun. Such is the nature of the film as a whole, even though its puzzle pieces rarely fit. Characters and plot threads are often dropped at random. The afterlife bureaucracy isn't so much a central joke this time, as it is an incidental setting, but Burton and screenwriters Miles Miller, who along with Ortega, make this as much a Wednesday reunion as a Beetlejuice sequel, provide enough by the way of puns and grisly visual gags make its fleeting presence worthwhile. A character casually saying they feel lightheaded is perhaps the movie's funniest joke for reasons best left discovered in the theater. The clash between trippy set designer and humdrum red tape is the defining feature of Beetlejuice's underworld. But while it retains its analog charm, the sequel also features Burton's attempt to update both its setting and vocabulary. Sometimes this works wonders with self-absorbed characters like Rory using therapy speak to hide their true intentions. Other attempts, unfortunately, aren't nearly as character-centric. They play like half-hearted jabs in the direction of the internet, influencers, streaming, and social media, and are far less effective. However, despite these uneven attempts to reckon with the changing world, Burton neither tries to modernize Beetlejuice by subverting or correcting him, nor does he double down on the character's creepiness by sending him chasing after another teenager. He's still an obnoxious imp, and Keaton plays him with the same unapologetic mischief as in the first film, only this time he has a few more kooky creature-featured tricks up his sleeve, rather than a penchant for underage girls, if only by virtue of the fact that Ryder is now in her 50s. Granted, what's lost in the process is the realization of one of the movie's central themes, i.e. Lydia seeing herself in Astrid, trying to protect her from experiences which she now lives. But that's far too serious a story for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, a film in which characters brush aside the idea of trauma as some kind of trendy modern invention, even though it might arguably be the correct one. It's a silly little sequel to an equally silly original, and it's hard to imagine wanting or needing much more from it. So, our verdict: Tim Burton allows the cast of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice to have fun, even if they're all off in separate movies that barely overlap. Its story is intentionally robbed of dramatic weight, but this makes way for the goofy, imaginative, practical effects of Burton's early days, resulting in a small-scale legacy sequel that doesn't take itself too seriously, because it doesn't need to. So, our final score for this film is going to be a 7 out of 10. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is a charming, if weightless, legacy sequel where the whole cast is having fun. If you've seen Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, give us a thumbs up if you liked this video, hit that subscribe button and bell notification button to be notified of future videos. Of course, if you want to support your channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. As always, your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring new hosts, and hopefully take this show on the road. Your support can help make that happen. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.